As they unfolded was Justice and Education Minister Gilbert Likudi standing in for Chief Minister Fabian Picardo, who's away from Gibraltar for the Easter break. Mr Likudi based himself at Waterport Power Station for most of the afternoon and evening, and he joins us now live. Acting Chief Minister Gilbert Likudi, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Can I ask you first of all how you heard about the situation and what was your initial reaction?
Right. Well, before I start, can I start by thanking all the emergency services, everybody that's been involved in this incident, the fire brigade, the defence fire service that came out in support, the RGP, and all the technical people at GBC who have been working very, very hard to restore our power. I've been, as you've said, on site throughout the afternoon. I've been in touch with the Chief Minister and with the Minister for Civil Contingencies and for the Utilities. And one thing that you've also mentioned is that there were no injuries, and that's obviously we have to be thankful because of a major incident such as this. And the other person that I was in touch with very early on during the course of the afternoon was the Minister for Health, John Cortes. And before we knew that everybody was accounted for and safe, I wanted to make sure that he was aware and that the hospital was on standby just in case there were any injuries. But very, very soon we were able to ascertain that everybody was okay, that there were no injuries at all, and therefore the hospital was stood down. You mentioned the hospital there, of course, preparing for any casualties should the need arise. Can I ask you what happens in cases like this? I suppose that they have their own backup generators, which those came into being. Yes, absolutely. The hospital has been with electrical supply throughout that hasn't been affected. They do have a backup generator, and that certainly worked well. You asked how I got to find out about the fire. I was actually driving in the area. I was driving to Waterport to pick up my father for lunch, and I saw the smoke. So I made my way to the area. The first person I encountered there was Superintendent Richard Massoud, who took me nearer to the scene and explained what was happening. I spoke to the fire officers who were in charge, and they told me that they were on scene and tackling the blaze. I want to talk to you a little bit about what happens now with power generation. But first of all, a question that I also put to Manolo Alessio. Some people are saying, more than 6 hours. Many homes, or some homes, continue without electricity this evening. Really, despite the exceptional circumstances, it's unacceptable, isn't it? Well, I think Mr Alessio has confirmed why that happened, and this was a deliberate decision. It wasn't that because of this particular generator, which was engine number 1, that all the power went out. There was a deliberate decision to switch off the power at the control room at Waterport Power Station, which also controls the other, like the turbines. But as a community, do we need to have backup systems in place? For example, and I don't want to be alarmist, but had this been a terrorist attack, for example, you're telling me that Gibraltar would now have no electricity? Well, no. We do have backups. We have, and you've mentioned the XOXCO Power Station, which is the South District Power Station, the XMOD Power Station. That continued. The XMOD continued to provide supply to the areas that it normally supplies. We have the turbines at North Mole. There is a need to synchronise and coordinate all of that, and that's generally done from the control room. It was imperative that all the power supply to the control room and to the Waterport Power Station as a whole be cut down, because we couldn't risk the fire brigade going in with electricity going on and them tackling a major incident such as this. What about the fact that we have this power station very near a residential estate? We're talking about the fact that there were no injuries. Luckily, no injuries. This is, of course, next to Waterport Terraces. It could have been much worse, and I know you will argue that the GSD put Waterport Terraces there, but you're also putting Mons Calpe Mews. It seems to be a very built-up area for a station like this in close proximity. Well, yes, but the Waterport Power Station is not going to be there for a long time. We know that it's going to be there for a number of more years? Well, no. Waterport Power Station, until the new station is built, that is now between 18 and 24 months. What this incident does is emphasise the need for that new power station. We've known, and we've been talking about in Gibraltar, for the need for a new power station. We know that the previous administration had plans. We then revised those plans. We've started a tender process. We're very close to awarding the tender for the works and the commission. But if you haven't yet awarded that tender, do you think that you'll deliver that power station in this term of office? Well, the new power station will be commissioned and delivered between 18 to 24 months from now. That may or may not take us within this term of office, but that is a timescale. It will be the tender will be awarded very, very, very soon. But do you feel that to any extent the government may have been complacent, that this should have been done before? Well, no, we don't accept that we were complacent. We decided very early on immediately in our term of office that we needed a new power station, we needed to start work. But we didn't just rest on our laurels and rely on the supply that there was. We made sure that there were contingencies for the extra time that was going to be taken for the new power station. Remember that we ordered and commissioned the new turbines, which are at North Mole. Just imagine if this engine failure...
But those contingencies can't be put in place then when there's an incident like this. I know that it had to be shut down during the initial stages, but 3 hours in, can we not start restoring power to people?
Yes, but that's exactly what has happened. And the turbines at North Mole have been precisely one of the instruments that have been used to restore power to the rest of the community. So it is important that we have that. And it is important also to note that if we hadn't had those turbines, which have been in place for between 15 and 16 months, certainly during our term of office, if engine number 1 had blown up as it has done now, then the community would have had a major problem. What we've now got to do is analyse what we've got, the capacity that we've got, and we are very confident, as Manolo Alessio has said, that we have got sufficient supply to
even if engine number 1 is beyond repair, as he points out.
Yes, absolutely. We've already taken into account that engine number 1 is out. We've got engines number 2 and 3 that will have difficulties because of the damage to the building. We have got sufficient supply in what we've got, but we haven't just done that. We have been negotiating for the last few weeks the rental of additional sets, which will be coming to Gibraltar very, very soon, and which will act as a backup, as auxiliary supplies. So we have sufficient capacity, installed capacity, in what we have at the moment for the summer months and the winter months, but we're not waiting and relying on nothing extraordinary happen until the new power station is built. We are putting contingency arrangements in place, and we will have new generators delivered very, very shortly.
And until that new power station is built, you're more than 2 years into your term of office. Does an incident like this put pressure on your government to deliver that power station sooner?
Well, it will be done during the timescale that it can be done. And as I've said, the timescale is between 18 and 24 months. It is a priority for this government. It has been a priority from day one. It will continue to be a priority.
But let me ask you this way then. Are you happy that Gibraltar has been left without electricity for such a long period of time today?
Of course not. Of course not. I mean, let's remember that engine number 1 was commissioned by the AACR government. It is past its sell-by date. It should have been replaced long time ago. It hasn't been. We're now taking steps to do that, and we're not just waiting until the new power station is built between 18 and 24 months. We're making absolutely sure that Gibraltar has enough generating capacity until that happens to make sure that we don't have power cuts in the future.
But on the waiting, you still haven't even awarded the tender for the new power station.
Well, the tender process has started, and I expect that the tender will be awarded probably within the next month.
Can I just take you back very briefly on a more positive note, perhaps? You started the interview by giving credit to the emergency services. It's a long weekend in Gibraltar. It was very quiet on a Sunday. We know that the City Fire Brigade recalled 12 officers to the station to deal with 3 other tenders. We've seen a recall in police, Defence Fire Service assisting. Being a long weekend and considering that a lot of Gibraltarians were away from the Rock, are you satisfied with the emergency procedures that were put in place?
Absolutely. I've seen it firsthand. I saw how they responded. It wasn't just attending to the scene. Let's remember that we had a power cut. When you have a power cut, you have many lifts which stop working. And you had a lot of the appliances at this incident. The police have helped, the fire brigade have helped, they took everybody out safely, so there are a number of other things that they did. They behaved excellently, they've done Gibraltar proud.
Acting Chief Minister Gilbert Likudi, thank you for joining us on Newswatch this evening. And you've been watching a special edition of Newswatch. As we've been reporting, no one was hurt in a spectacular fire that broke out in Waterport Power Station just before 2 o'clock this afternoon. But practically everyone was affected as electrical supply to all districts was immediately cut off as a precaution. A mechanical failure in engine number 1 provoked a fire, which resulted in a loud explosion. Thick smoke belched out from the generating station, causing concern among residents of the area. They were told to stay indoors and keep their windows closed. It took several hours for the blaze to be completely extinguished. When it was, power was gradually restored district by district. That's all from the news team this evening. Many thanks for watching. Good night.